Come ride a little train going down the track at the junction. Woo, woo! Very cool junction. There's old Uncle Joe moving kind of slow at the junction. Woo, woo! Very cool junction. I will return.
Message deleted.
Don't draw conclusions, because if you do, you're going to be wrong.
News
you can
Radio
draw them if you
710,
want, just be wrong.
WNTM. 710 Time Saver Traffic from the Main Street Flooring and Design Traffic Center.
In Mobile, watch for a crash on Cottage Hill Road at Mont Lamar. There's also a crash in the ramp to Airport Boulevard from I-65 South. And we've got a crash with injury and road blockage in Milton, Rawton Road at Avalon Boulevard. I'm Lisa Baque. Follow us on X, Total Traffic Gulf Coast.
This report is sponsored by Our American Stories.
This is Lee Habib, host of Our American Stories. On our next episode, we'll honor and remember the events of September 11th, 2001. You won't want to miss the next episode of Our American Stories.
If you see traffic trouble, call the Acadian Windows traffic tip line at pound 250, keyword total traffic when prompted. Acadian Windows, your hurricane protection specialists.
The Uncle Henry Show, weekday afternoons from 5 till 7.
What time is it, Henry? What time is it?
Press message deleted. Press.
This is the Uncle Henry Show here on News Radio 710 WNTM. I'm Uncle Henry, in case you were wondering. That's me. Thank you. I appreciate very much you listening to the Uncle Henry Show. I really do. You can also watch. You can look, if you'd like to see an older man standing in front of a microphone struggling to survive, you can watch the Uncle Henry Show live on the YouTube. Look for Uncle Henry Show on YouTube, and you can see me there struggling. Well, once again, here we are together, me and you, trying to figure out what is going on. What is? It's more important than ever to figure it out. What is going on in the world around us? Now, you can come and join the show on the telephone if you want to get up in here with me and talk to me and talk to the listeners. 251-479-2723, the telephone number. That's 251-479-2723. And as usual, lots and lots of stuff to talk about with the continuing reaction to the political assassination last week. You got Mobile's mayor's race with a debate tonight. You can watch Spiro and Barbara Drummond on Fox 10 at 6 o'clock. They're doing a debate, just the two of them, on Fox 10 at 6 o'clock this evening. We can talk about all this stuff as we move forward in the Uncle Henry Show. Before we go any further, though, I just want to say a few words about a friend of mine named Tim Camp. Tim Camp. Got the word that Tim Camp passed away over the weekend. Tim Camp, who I met and worked with at WABB back in the 1980s. And Tim went on quite a career locally. Extremely important to local radio, Tim Camp. First working with Ken Johnson, and I don't even remember the company, what they called the company at that point, back when they had, in this building that I'm in right now, they had one of the first groups under consolidation in the country to have multiple radio stations under one roof. That used to be something that wasn't allowed. And then when broadcast rules were changed, one of the first companies in the country to do it was located in Mobile with Ken Johnson and Tim Camp. And then, of course, Tim went on later with Ken Johnson and had 92 Zoo and WNSP and all that kind of stuff. Tim Camp, you may have heard him on the radio on the Zoo or heard about him, but I want to tell you, somebody that knew him, worked with him and worked for him, I considered him a genius of a guy. Yes, and I don't call a lot of people that, but to me, he was a genius type of guy. Because he had the ability, he could come into this building or any other building, and as a broadcast engineer, he could create the studio. He could build the studio, understood how all the equipment worked, made all of the equipment work together. Great sound engineer, he could make it sound great. He also had the knowledge to actually program the radio stations. And you can see, running the Zoo, running NSP, running all those other radio stations for years. Had the business acumen to actually keep them on the air. I can remember a time before 2010, we had some big financial problems at the end of George W. Bush into Barack Obama. And a lot of broadcast entities had a lot of trouble then. And he really, the reason the Zoo is still on the air, for those that love that radio station, is because that guy, he told me stories of him going into banks, trying to get loans to make payday from one week to the next week, just to keep those stations on the air. Tim kept those stations on the air, his efforts. But a genius. I could tell you, he could work on the station and install all the equipment, figure out how everything should work, wire it all together, do it for a number of stations in a building. He could program the stations. He was also a musician. Tim was also a musician. He could even come up with the music to play on the radio station if he wanted to. I remember the first time I saw Tim perform as a musician was in the early 90s. I was working at WABB, doing mornings there, and was invited to go to Krockmeyer's on Florida Street, back when Krockmeyer's was on Florida Street. And Tim was playing Krockmeyer's as a two-man band with Jason Green of Jason's Gym on Cottage Hill Road. Tim Camp and Jason Green. And I'll never forget, because I didn't know that Tim was a musician. So I was just shocked to walk in and see the engineer in there in Krockmeyer's just doing an incredible job. They did a lot of David Bowie. I vividly remember the Ground Control to Major Tom song being performed by Tim Camp and Jason Green there at Krockmeyer's. Great memory for me. And later saw Tim performing music at Mike Brazil's wedding. Michael Stewart. He was known as Marathon Mike on WABB. Marathon Mike had a big wedding at one point, and Tim was in charge of the music at the wedding and performed at the wedding. In fact, it was at that wedding that Tim Camp gave me advice on women. The late Tim Camp came up to me at the wedding after he had performed. And if I remember correctly, I might have officiated or been one of the officiants at the wedding. It was one of those events where your memory might be a little cloudy from participating. But I'll never forget what he told me about women. He was giving me advice on women, and he said, Henry, the only thing, now, again, this take it for what it's worth. He said the only thing necessary to have, well, never mind. I'm not going to share that memory with you. I apologize for teasing you with it, but I don't know. Maybe the quote would be misinterpreted in modern times. But he gave me perhaps a chauvinistic quote about married life there at the wedding there with Michael Stewart. But Tim Camp, I talk about him as a genius. He could predict the future in this industry, and I saw him do it. He was the first guy to really push for all sports radio. the first all sports radio station on the Gulf Coast was because Tim Camp pushed for it and worked with Faulkner to get it going. Became WNSP. I watched him do it. I watched him making the plans for it back when he was at WABB and then later here. There's more I could say, and I think I will, if you don't mind. Just a few more minutes on this. Tim Camp, a genius.
710 Time Saver Traffic from the Main Street Flooring and Design Traffic Center.
Emergency utility work is going on in the northbound turn lane at Woodbine and Highway 90 in Milton. Also in Milton, a crash with injury and road blockage on Avalon Boulevard South at Rotten Road, and also in Mobile, an accident.
Did she say on Rotten Road? I've not heard of Rotten Road before. I'm not going to check the spelling because I like the idea of it being called rotten. YouTube viewers, thank you for looking. About to pull up the YouTube, see if anybody is watching here on the desktop in front of me. Yes, a moment of silence. All right, let me see if anybody is looking in here. And I see there's a small number of you there. 68-year-old Chris of West Loxley, Bama Big Man, Rebecca Lockwood, Larry Morting, Richard Harvey. Art, Art, you saw Tim wire the building you were in while I was while you were painting here. When he left, it took another engineer a couple of years to map out what Tim had wired. Took a couple of years. Took a couple of years for the other engineer to map it out. Uh, 68-year-old Chris, I think I am going to be here all week, I think, unless I can figure something out, unless there's a good excuse. Now, who knows? If there was some concert coming up Friday night, maybe I could weasel out. But I think I believe I will be here all week. But thank you for asking. I'm going to be back on the radio here in about 2 minutes. I have just a couple of more things I want to say about Tim Camp. I know it may not be of great interest to you, but he was a huge influence for me and a gigantic influence for local mobile radio. Roll Tide to you, Bama Big Man. And let me see, before we go back on the radio here in about 2 minutes, is there anything I can tell you about? Now, so it's not even Christmas, but the Toy Insider has come out, whoever that is, has come out with a list of the hot 20 toys of the year that people are going to be fighting each other over to buy for children at Christmas. And the reason I'm bringing it up is one of the toys is a riding toy. Your child would sit on top of it and ride it around. And it's described as similar to a bumper car. It's called an Imagineer Rider. And it's going to have soft rubber bumpers around the thing that the kid is riding on, so they can ride into walls and furniture and stuff and just bump it and not hurt it. A bumper car. And it'll be in designs like a Spider-Man bumper car, a Minnie Mouse bumper car, that kind of garbage. Now, I wonder if the person that invented it has kids. Because I don't care if it has soft rubber bumpers around it, it's still going to cause tremendous chaos and mess in any house if you have a bumper car that a child has been given to ride around and bump into things with. They're also going to be selling Play-Doh Barbie designer fashion show set. Which sounds like a huge mess, doesn't it? Doesn't that sound messy?
This is the Uncle Henry Show, only on News Radio 710 WNTM.
This is the Uncle Henry Show, News Radio 710 WNTM. It is 5:20. News headlines coming up in 10 minutes. Telephone number 251-479-2723. That's 251-479-2723. Email address unclehenry@iheartmedia.com. That's unclehenry@iheartmedia.com. In the last segment of the show, I was just sharing a few thoughts on Tim Camp, who passed away over the weekend. Tim Camp, who was a owner, one of the owners of 92 Zoo, WNSP, and the other stations over in that group. And I was describing Tim, somebody I worked with several times, and I was describing him as a genius and trying to explain why I would describe him that way. And I mentioned right before going to break, and I promise not to take up too much more of your time with this, but I watched him through the years look into the future, and he always could figure out where the radio industry was headed looking into the future. There was something about him, he could see around the corner in a way that a lot of people could not. I've worked with a lot of really smart people, all of them smarter than me. He seemed to have that odd quality of being able to see around that corner and know where things were headed. I mentioned that he provided sports radio for the Gulf Coast. He was the first to figure out that this was going to be something that would make money. I know now it seems like a foregone conclusion that if you just put a bunch of sports on something, people would flock to it. He was one of the first to go out there and really make it happen. I watched him work on sports radio from when he worked with me at WABB, then when he worked with me here, and then later left and went over and started WNSP. It took that long to get it all figured out and to get it up and going and monetize it the way it needed to be monetized. But that was a big Tim Camp project. Other people helped him, but it was his vision for it. And he's the reason it exists on the Gulf Coast. And, of course, now copycats all over the country in sports radio. Also, he was one of the first with Ken Johnson to work for a what you would call a broadcast group. Back before radio got deregulated in the 80s and then later into the 90s, you could not own, no company could own more than one FM and one AM radio station in a broadcast market. Those rules got changed after a wave of deregulation in the 80s. And then in the 90s, Congress made it so that it could be corporate and lots of stations. You could own a lot of stations in one town. And Tim Camp and Ken Johnson saw that, and they were they might have been the first in the country to have multiple stations all under one roof in the same town. If they weren't the first, they were one of the first 3 or 4 in the country to do that when they did that here in the building that I'm in right now. And whether we like the effects of it or not, that is the way the entire industry went to it. They saw it. They saw it coming. Now, also, they named their company, Tim made them name their company .com Plus or something like that, because even when streaming was just first starting, there were no apps for it. You would have to go to a website. you'd have to visit a radio station's website to see if they were putting their content there and where you could hear it. They saw that coming. Tim saw that coming and said, we need to be .com. That needs to be the name of our company, should be .com. And we should be about streaming and the importance of the internet. He just saw it all coming. And I touched on this briefly in the first segment of the show this hour. For those of you that are fans of the station that he worked for, 92 Zoo, if you're a fan of that, I know a lot of people are very passionate about that station, have been since early 90s, maybe even late 80s. Now, Cat came up with the branding of that station, Cat Certain. He came up with the branding, created the image for it, and programmed the early years of it and really cemented the identity of that radio station. That was Cat Certain. But it was Tim Camp coming in later that kept it alive. Many, many times, the thing could have gone under and not been a part of Mobile Radio had it not been for Tim and Ken Johnson recognizing the value of it and keeping it going all these years. So for those that love that station, they've got a lot to thank Tim Camp for. One of my favorite things about him is he worked. I worked at WABB for 7 or 8 years. Loved my time there. It really made me who I am. And he was a huge part of WABB. I think he was the person on the air when they launched their FM signal. Correct me if I'm wrong, Radio Files. I think he was the guy on the air. In fact, I think he was on AM radio on 1480 AM, and I think he was said something in the microphone, went out and got in a vehicle and drove down the road to where they were going to be at WABB, and then went on the air on the FM. I don't know if that's somebody can correct me on that story, but I think that Tim was the guy that was there for that big transition of going to FM radio for that station. Tim worked very closely through the years with Bernie Dittman, another legend in Mobile radio. Bernie Dittman, the owner and operator of WABB AM and FM. The stories about Bernie Dittman are legendary because Bernie was notoriously frugal. In fact, when I worked there, Bernie wanted to give away one concert ticket and try to sell the other ticket to the listener that won the first ticket. And we had to tell him, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. My favorite Bernie story came from Tim Camp. Tim Camp was Bernie's chief engineer. They had a part at the transmitter went bad, and Tim Camp he needed to buy a replacement part, and so he called an electronics company. This was before the internet. He called an electronics company, I think in Chicago, and asked them about sending the part, and they said, "Oh, you should. We've got a franchise down in Mobile. You should call them." And Tim said, "Well, I never heard of this electronics store. What's it called?" And the people said, "It's Dittman Electronics." And what it was Bernie had created a fake electronics store so that he could get the electronic prices at wholesale prices. I can't tell you any of the other stories that Tim told me because there's still people alive. But Tim Camp, rest in peace. Tim Camp got me 2 important jobs in my life. He put in good words for me. 2 times I was hired. I will always be grateful to Tim Camp.
Time saver traffic from the Main Street Flooring and Design Traffic Center.
You're traveling south on Highway 59 from I-10 to Gulf Shores. It's a 48-minute drive. Getting word of a crash that has the westbound lanes of I-10 shut down approaching South Ferdin Boulevard. Also, watch for construction in the northbound turn lane at Woodbine and Highway 90. With Time Saver Traffic, I'm Lisa Baque.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's. Get 2 #1 selling bacon cheeseburgers and fast food. Wendy's JBC. Plus medium fries and soft drink for just $8. Total game changer. Order today. Limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Request $8 JBC meal deal to obtain discount. Claim per Independent Marketing Research Company.
If you see traffic trouble, call the Acadian Windows traffic tip line at pound 250, keyword total traffic when prompted. Acadian Windows, your hurricane protection specialists.
Download the iHeartRadio app and get News Radio 710 WNTM anywhere, anytime.
Hello, I'm Cameron Taylor with Fox 10 News. One person was sent to a hospital after police in Pensacola say a fight broke out during a vigil for Charlie Kirk. Police say they responded to a disturbance at the 17th Avenue Railroad Trestle. That's where they say a group of people had gathered for a vigil in remembrance of Kirk, who was shot and killed last week in Utah. During the vigil, we're told a fight broke out, and someone used pepper spray, resulting in one person being taken to a hospital. Police say the person who used pepper spray ran away before police arrived. The city of Pritchard will celebrate its 100th anniversary with a parade at 6 p.m. tomorrow. It will honor a century of history, resilience, and civic pride. The parade will start at Viger High School and go down Wilson Avenue toward Pritchard Mall. From there, we'll make a right turn onto Lovejoy Loop, then a left onto Pritchard Lane. The route continues with a second left back onto Wilson Avenue, a right onto Main Street, and will end at Pritchard Water. Mayor Jimmy Gardner said, quote, "Reaching 100 years is a rare and meaningful achievement. It reflects generations of hard work, culture, and perseverance," end quote. Well, tonight, the 2 candidates who want to be the next mayor of Mobile will debate at Fox 10. It's happening at 6 p.m. Former District Judge Spiro Cherogatis and State Representative Barbara Drummond will debate a variety of topics from the local economy to public safety. And you can watch it on air and the Fox 10 Gulfstream app. I'm Cameron Taylor with Fox 10 News on this iHeartRadio station.
This is News Radio 710 WNTM.
Fox News, I'm John Saucier. President Trump says the National Guard will be deployed to Memphis in the latest crime crackdown. He told reporters in the Oval Office the operation is going to look like what's going on in Washington, D.C.
I'm signing a presidential memorandum to establish the Memphis Safe Task Force, and it's very important because of the crime that's going on.
The Democratic mayor of Memphis, Paul Young, says he was not happy about the idea of deploying the Guard there. Lawmakers in Washington have till September 30th to pass a funding bill or face a government shutdown. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says Democrats are open to working with the Republicans as long as the GOP will negotiate with them.
We want to keep the government open by engaging in bipartisan negotiation, where we can address some of the grave harms Donald Trump has caused to our health care system and help Americans with the cost of living. We haven't seen that today.
America's listening to Fox News.
Uncle Henry here with John McNeil and Virginia.
YouTube viewers, if there's anybody left watching on YouTube, thank you for looking. Going to be back on the radio here in about 2 minutes. Let me see if there's anything that you've... let's see, Pat Nelly. Thank you all for looking in. Sharon at Fairhope. Thank you all for looking in on the program. Going to be back on the radio in about 90 seconds. I'll be back on the radio. Let me see if there's anything I can tell you between now and then. If there's any good weird news stories that can be told. All right, there is a new personality type. It's called an outrovert. It's someone who feels like they're in the middle of being an extrovert or an introvert. An outrovert. The meaning is allegedly that they can interact with large groups, but don't necessarily feel like they belong with the groups. An outrovert. Okay. Come up with a label for somebody that needs to label everything. How about that? All right, back on the radio.
Puts the pen in your hands.
I'm sick and tired of everyone telling me how to feel.
I want you to be able to make your own decision.
I wouldn't even know what's fact and what's fiction anymore without Glenn.
The Glenn Beck Program.
This we do for you.
Weekday mornings at 8.
You know what we're facing.
On WNTM.
It says the Uncle Henry Show here on News Radio 710 WNTM. It's 5:35. If there's something you want to talk about, feel free to call me, 251-479-2723. That's 251-479-2723. Email address, unclehenry@iheartmedia.com. That's unclehenry@iheartmedia.com. Now, for those that live in Mobile that are interested in the election, the mayoral runoff that is coming up on the 23rd, tonight there is a debate between State Representative Barbara Drummond and former Judge Spiro Cherigatis. That's going to be on Fox 10 at 6 o'clock. Now, I'll be here. I won't be able to watch it, but you watch it for me and tell me about it. That's at 6 o'clock tonight on Fox 10. And are there people that still haven't made up their mind? Now, I know to you listen to News Talk Radio, and you keep up with news, and you're interested in the world around you. You're a very curious person if you listen to this station, so you've probably made up your mind. But there are a lot of people, they don't know, they can't figure it out. So I hope this can help these folks. Again, that's at 6 o'clock tonight. There's more to talk about, but first let me go to the phones. Hello, caller.
Hey, Uncle Henry.
Hello there. You are live on the radio.
Hey, Uncle Henry, it's Mary Ellen. I just wanted to tell you that I listened to you, and I was so sad yesterday to hear about Tim Camp.
Yeah, and Mary Ellen, listener, she worked with Tim as well at WABB.
I did. I had the pleasure of working with them for many years, and we were still friends, and I spent Mardi Gras down and all of the 92 Zoo people. They were just so wonderful, and he was so wonderful, and I just am so sad that I feel for him, his family, and his children.
And now, do you agree with me that he was a genius? This is a genius guy.
He was a genius. I have so many stories, and I worked at WABD in the 80s.
Right, me too.
80s, and we had the giant telephones that were in the bag that we carried around for all of our remotes.
Yes.
And Tim kept us on the air. And I remember one time we had a concert at the Mobile Civic Center, and we used to put the dinner machine in the lobby, or when the people came in for the concert, and gave away all kind of exciting trinkets and did live broadcasts. And when we got there, they said we could not bring the dinner machine in because it had gasoline in it. So me, Tim Camp, and Chuck Morey, the sales manager, were siphoning out gasoline in the parking lot so that we could bring the dinner machine into the lobby.
You siphoned the gas out of the dinner machine so that you could what? Push it into the lobby of the Civic Center?
Yes, because we could not bring it in because it had like a quarter of a tank of gas in it or something, and it was a danger or a fire hazard. So we had this plastic tube, and we were taking turns. God only knows. Thank God we didn't get any kind of COVID or diseases. And had to siphon. We took turns siphoning out the gasoline from the dinner machine so that we could put it in the lobby.
I've never heard that story before. Now, do you remember? Was it?
And everybody was smoking but me. Like Chuck had his 3 cigarettes, and Tim had his cigarettes. And I was like, I think this is dangerous. And I started out as an intern at Spring Hill College, thanks to John Bowler. He hired me as an intern, and I parlayed that into a promotions position.
And did a great job. at that
Thank you,
promotion. But I want to know, though, do you remember, was it Tim's idea to siphon the gas, or was it Chuck Morey's idea?
I think it was probably Tim, because
Okay.
Chuck probably wouldn't have come up with that. Maybe, I'm not sure, but Tim was the MacGyver of the radio station, if you know who MacGyver was.
Yeah.
That old. But he could take any situation and make it happen.
That is, yes.
He was a genius.
And I was telling somebody, you know, he wired this facility that I'm in right now. He spent a couple of years wiring up all these studios. I don't know, at one time we had 6 or 8 studios in the same building. After he left, Mary Ellen, it took the engineers that came after him 2 or 3 years to map out what he had done.
I believe it.
They couldn't figure it out.
I believe it. And I remember that we would go and hang from a Winnebago camper in front of Dome Mall, and he would have everything set up, and the DJs would just go on the air like, you know, now you just use cell phones or whatever.
Yeah.
He knew exactly what he was doing. God bless him. God bless him.
Amen. Well,
Anyway, I'll let you go, Uncle Henry, but I love you, and congratulations on your marriage. And, you know, we all need a reunion sometime, because we don't tell each other we love each other enough.
I agree. I love you too, and would love to have a reunion.
All right. Well, you take care of yourself.
You too. Thank you, Mary Ellen. There she goes, Mary Ellen, who worked at WABB, also in promotions, and did some other things. I think her voice was used on the air from time to time as well. I think we did a parody song once. The Billy Joel song, "We Didn't Start the Fire," we did a version of that was "Will Uncle Henry Retire?" And I believe she was brought in. I say used. I can't carry a tune. And when I tried to sing it, they said, no, you cannot. And they brought Mary Ellen in to sing the chorus to that parody song. So, yes. Anyway, thank you, Mary Ellen, for sure. That is a WABB story I'd never heard, about having to siphon gas out of the denim machine to get it into the old auditorium. 251-479-2723, the telephone number here on the Uncle Henry Show. That's 251-479-2723. Email address, unclehenry@iheartmedia.com. That's unclehenry@iheartmedia.com. Those days of radio where we didn't have the technology that we have now, lots of fun stories of people trying to figure out how to make things work on the fly. You have a lot. She referred to him as a MacGyver. You just had to do that back in the day. You just had to. Just about everybody that worked in it, even the on-the-air people like me, had to have some element of being able to figure out how to fix something mechanical, because you never know when it was going to go bad there in those old days of radio. And another part of the fun was you had to have the place staffed 24 hours a day. So there was always something going on up there. You might not have wanted it going on, but there was always something going on up there. All right, let's see. What else can we get into before I go to break here on the Uncle Henry Show? Also, I mentioned Fox 10 is doing their debate, the mayor's debate tonight at 6 o'clock. I also heard the story in the Fox News from Cameron Taylor, the local Fox News, that Pritchard is having a parade tomorrow night. Pritchard is celebrating its 100th anniversary, and they're doing a parade tomorrow night at 6 o'clock for this in Pritchard. And I want to, I'm not wearing a hat, but if I were wearing one, I would say hats off to the city fathers and mothers of Pritchard for going ahead and celebrating their 100th anniversary. Because unfortunately, through the years, there's just not been a lot to celebrate with Pritchard. They've had a lot of struggles, as you've been aware as a citizen. Just a lot of struggles there in Pritchard. At one point, I wondered, would it be worthwhile to just dissolve it and let it become a part of the county because of all of the difficulties that they had with their city? But you can tell by the number of people that ran for office in Pritchard. There's some people in Pritchard that love Pritchard. They want Pritchard to succeed. They want it to do better. And I wish them the best. And the fact that they love their town enough to hold a celebration like this, good for them. I hope they get a turnout. All right, back with more after the break.
710 Time Saver Traffic from the Main Street Flooring and Design Traffic Center.
Crews have been on the scene of a crash that had the westbound lanes of I-10 blocked between Defuniak Springs and Crestview. It was at milepost 66. That is about 10 miles before the South Ferdinand Boulevard exit. All lanes are now open, but still some heavy congestion through the area. With Time Saver Traffic, I'm Lisa Baque.
This report is sponsored by Staples. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now it's...
And YouTube viewers, if there's anybody left after that, a very personal broadcast. I didn't plan it to be. So my apologies for it being very personal, just talking about somebody that I cared about passing away. But tomorrow we can get back into city council meetings and fighting over tax dollars, which are worth fighting over. All right, what can I tell you before going back? First, let me look at the small number of people looking in here. Bringing up YouTube here on the desktop computer. And I see there's a small number of you there. Timmy Watkins. Ken, hello to you. Timmy Watkins, WABB songs. Of course, I think Bubba Likes Moon Pies was created there, wasn't it? And yes, 68-year-old Chris of West Loxley talking about Birmingham radio personalities. Bernie Dittman owned a radio station in Birmingham. He was the boss of Mark and Brian. When I was leaving WABB to go to work for Tim Camp and Ken Johnson, Bernie got one of the Mark and Brian guys to call me. To try and urge me to stay at my lower paying job. But yes, Birmingham, and Scott Shannon, one of the top DJs in the history of American radio. I think he started at WABB or worked there. Let's see, what can I tell you about while waiting to go back on the radio? Are there any... There's a lot of dumb stories in the news. That I'm hesitating on even relating to you. They're that dumb. There's a story out about how pumpkin spice has hidden health benefits. Now, is that a sign that we're finally going to we're going to be done with that? If there's now hidden health benefits, are we going to be done with this pumpkin spice stuff? Also, there's a new list of the most relaxing cities in the world. And in the top 10, there's one American city. It is San Diego. It is number one. It's supposed to be the number one most relaxing city in the world, San Diego. No other cities in the top 10 from our country. San Diego, number one for relaxation. Number 2 is Singapore. Number 3, Vienna. Number 4, Sydney, Australia. I won't go to any of those other cities. And I've already been to San Diego, so I guess I'm done. But if you want to relax, San Diego.
Cast. Hi, I'm Buzz Knight, the host of the Taking a Walk podcast, and join me for an episode with Rob Reiner talking about the new Spinal Tap release. Rob Reiner on the Taking a Walk podcast on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Available everywhere with the iHeartRadio app, now #1 for podcasting. This is News Radio 710, WNTM, an iHeartRadio station.
This is the Uncle Henry Show. It's 5:50. News headlines coming up in 10 minutes. You can also hear me on FM radio. I'm allowed to broadcast on 95 KSJ Monday through Friday from 10 to 2. Tomorrow, I'll have your chance to win tickets to see Billy Currington. He's going to be in concert at the Sound Amphitheater in Gaucher. He'll be there Friday night, September 26th. Billy Currington, and the way we're giving away tickets is playing KSJ karaoke, where we ask you to sing one line of a Billy Currington song to win the tickets. My winner today was a guy named Jason Jordan of Cantonment, Florida. Here he is singing for me.
God is great, beer is good, and people are crazy.
Now, see, aren't those wonderful lyrics to a song? God is good.
God is great, beer is good.
God is great. Pardon me, Lord. God is great.
God is great, beer is good, and people are crazy.
All right, he won the tickets just with that. We'll be doing that tomorrow. I'll have your chance to win at 11:15 tomorrow. If you want to win those tickets, KSJ karaoke tomorrow at 15 minutes past 11 with me on 95 KSJ. 251-479-2723, the telephone number. Hello there, caller.
Hey, Uncle Henry, how you doing?
Snake Trapper, you are live on the radio.
Uncle Henry, I will not be listening to the debate tonight. For one, I'll be watching Monday Night Football, and at this point, it's out of my hands. But what I would love Mr. Cherigatis to do is to ask Miss Drummond, does she think that Donald Trump is a fascist, and if Republicans are racist and a threat to democracy? Uncle Henry, and the reason I say that because she has been endorsed by people that has uttered that word. And if not, does she denounce them people that has endorsed her? Uncle Henry, we are in a fight for our life, literally, after what happened to Charlie Kirk. We cannot sit by and not ask the important questions, let the voters know how a person stands. Uncle Henry, I can remember the debate between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama. Man, he got in there and played softball. Not that Mitt Romney would have been any better than Barack Obama. He may have been. Man, he got in there and played softball and just basically laid down for him. We cannot allow this to happen, Uncle Henry. This is a battle we have got to win. And I would like for Judge Cherigatis to ask the tough questions when he gets a chance, Uncle Henry.
Well, and we'll have to. Well, I'll let you know. Since you're going to watch Monday Night Football, I'll let you know if he asks it. I was looking at Fox 10's website, and they say that that Lenise Lagan and Cameron Taylor will be moderating the debate, and they have they're doing it with the Chamber of Commerce. So I don't think they'll I don't think they'll ask the questions you want asked, but you never know what Spiro might ask. You're right. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yes, sir. I mean, like I said, Uncle Henry, the days of playing easy with Democrats is over. We have got to beat this ideology, Uncle Henry, or this country will be destroyed. And this woman being endorsed by people that were in the Biden administration that that has uttered them words, Uncle Henry, including Kamala Harris herself. I mean, she was asked by Anderson Cooper, is Donald Trump a fascist? And she said yes. Well, I want people to know that one of them shell casings that was in that kid's rifle that was meant for Charlie Kirk, it had that exact word on it, Uncle Henry. We are in a battle for our life. We cannot lay down anymore.
All right. Well, again, Snake Trapper will watch the debate. I'll let you know if that ever comes up.
Well, Uncle Henry, I appreciate it, buddy, and you have a good day.
Hey, you too. Snake Trapper, thank you for your phone call. And there he goes. And Snake Trapper, if you are listening, at some point I'm going to need a snake call because we're going into a drought. The temperatures are remaining quite warm here in the afternoons with drought type conditions. I would like you to, at some point this week, if you don't mind, call in with some type of snake report, letting me and the listener know the activities. What will the dryness combined with the warmth, what kind of behavior should we notice from our snake friends? All right, just about out of time for this part of the Uncle Henry Show. There's more coming up after 6 o'clock. But again, if you are in front of a TV, you can watch Fox 10's debate coming on here in just a few minutes between Spiro Chiriganis and State Representative Barbara Drummond. A reminder, if you want to listen back to previous episodes of the Uncle Henry Show, they're available as podcasts. You can find those at newsradio710.com. You can find my show and a lot of the other shows from our radio station there at newsradio710.com. Or you can go to the iHeartRadio app. Look for Uncle Henry Show on the iHeartRadio app. And then set a preset in the app for the show. You'll never miss any frustrating episode of the Uncle Henry Show.
Securing America.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem addressing continuing threats from foreign entities and governments Sunday during an appearance on Fox's Sunday Morning Futures, saying that even though the flow of illegal migrants at the border has been stopped, dangers do remain.
Those evil foreign governments that have sought to take us down for decades and decades, such as China, they infiltrated our country too.
YouTube viewers, thank you for looking. I'll be back at the regular time tomorrow. I'm turning the camera off so that I can collect myself before the next segment of the show. Have a wonderful rest of your evening.
And recruiting 10,000 new officers, we have over 150,000 people that submitted applications. And every single federal law enforcement agency is seeing a huge increase in people who want to join and help make it safer.
Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.